In this video, we're going to be looking at grinders and which ones might be better suited for certain types of coffee brew methods. Grinding is a key part of the process of making coffee. Obviously, we can't just stick roasted beans into a portafilter or French press and run hot water over them. We need to break the beans down to smaller particles, so when they interact with the water, we can extract the flavor in the form of dissolved solubles. It's all about surface area and finding the appropriate size to extract the flavor. A big part of grinding beans is allowing the correct size within a certain band to allow coffee to flow through it when engaged with a form of filtration. Coffee grinders usually fall under a few different categories defined by the type of process used to break up the beans. So a spinning blade, a conical burr, or a flat burr. The blade grinders for coffee aren't usually recommended as they just chop up the coffee, resulting in a very uneven particle size, not conducive to accurate brewing. Selecting a grinder isn't always as simple as a flat burr or a conical burr. Other factors may include the brew method, filter or espresso, the capacity, single dose or large batches, speed of the motor, size, weight, and portability. If we look at a flat burr grinder, this design has two discs with teeth that sit on top of each other. One disc remains stationary while the other spins, creating the grinding action. The inner teeth are usually larger too, and do most of the initial breaking of the coffee beans and become finer as they move to the outer edge. I'm generalizing a lot here with the burr shapes, but flat burrs produce a more uniform particle size compared to conical. If you were to run the particles through a sieve and chart the sizes, you would generally have a nice bell-shaped curve with a single peak, which we call unimodal. Flat burr grinders also tend to be slightly louder and often generate more heat than a conical burr. Conical burr grinders usually involve one stationary outer burr with a spinning conical shaped burr in the center, but sometimes the other way around. Generally, they are more economical to manufacture, quieter, and often generate less heat and sometimes faster than flat burrs of equal standing, but do have a different particle distribution compared to flat burr grinders. Conical grinders often produce two main particle sizes, which we call bimodal. One small, one larger, which is not necessarily a bad thing and can often aid in the making of espresso. Generally, the bigger the grinder you go for, the faster it can grind and the more coffee it can grind too. But you do sacrifice portability. They can be harder and heavier to move. The smaller you go, the easier they are to move. But hand grinders can sacrifice quality and speed. The general rule with particle size is finer for espresso because it's under pressure, and coarser for drip filter because there is often longer contact time with the water. There are also generalizations like conical burr for espresso, flat burr for filter coffee. There is some wisdom in this statement, depending on your objectives. So ask yourself, how long will you be making coffee? What range of grind setting would you need? What tastes are you trying to bring out of the beans? Generally, you'd choose a conical grinder for espresso because it produces both large and small particles, and therefore the smaller particles restrict the flow of the water under pressure. This gives the larger particles more contact time for saturation, which can give more body to the beverage. But that's just a general rule. Flat burrs can be good for espresso, and conical burrs can be good for filter. For example, here, we use flat burr grinders for our espresso because we like to prioritize clarity of body. This means we can hone in the extraction to target the peak of the particles without, for a lack of a better term, muddying up the beverage with over-extraction of the finer particles. Just because there are certain ideals doesn't mean that great coffee is out of reach for the home user. A hand grinder is great if you want the odd coffee and have the time and the muscles to crank it out. You can get a delicious cup using a conical grinder for coffee at home for a reasonable price, which you will be able to cater for your morning brew or if you have a few people around. When it comes down to it, As important as a grinder may be, it's only going to aid in a great cup of coffee if the beans you choose are as good as they can be.